All right, Peter and Michelle, this is Corey here, just doing a bit of a inspection for you with my thermal imaging camera. So the first room we're going to start in is the rear entryway. So I just wanted to show you, orange and red means hot, blue means cool. So we can see that the wall is fairly well insulated back here. You can see we do have the blue running down from the joists. However, when we move over to this section, this is where we start to notice there is a bit of blue and purple. So probably like there might be an issue in behind this as well, but the main issue that I can find is again where all the kind of dark blue is right here. So just in behind this part of the wall, the rest of it looks relatively good. One other thing that might be contributing a bit, we do have the blue along the bottom of the door there. So again, upgrading the sweep is probably a good idea. We can see there is a bit of blue around the edges there. I'm not overly concerned about that. That is fairly normal with a lot of door systems. Now I want to go into the bathroom in here. So what we can see is that there is a dark purple line running all the way through that back corner. And we can see that there is a bit of that purple up at the top as well. Again, this isn't something that's completely abnormal. So it looks like the wall is reasonably well insulated. But I think what's happening in here, like around the toilet there, the porcelain that the toilet's made out of is likely absorbing a bit of this temperature, and we can see what's going on here with the sink as well, and the fixtures down below. So there likely is just a few things like this and this. All these like colder materials look like they're probably absorbing that temperature and keeping the cold in this room. So that's probably why we're seeing so much cold in here in particular. Moving on to the kitchen. So we can see that anywhere the backsplash is exposed, or around the stove there and down at the corner, we do have a lot of blues in here as well, telling me that, again, it's probably not very well insulated behind this backsplash. But again, the type of material that we have here, because that is, kind of a stone material there, that does absorb that cold and it can bring it through into this room. And then when we look down here as well in the just the corner cupboard here, we can see that there is some really, really dark blues down there as well. So just the temperature that's building up inside the cupboards here, every time we open those, it is going to pull that cold temperature, or push that cold temperature into the rest of the kitchen area. The windows, the windows are relatively new. The thermal units are holding up really well. There is a bit of blue around the frame, but that's normal for a lot of double pane vinyl grade, or double pane vinyl windows. Coming into here, this wall, again, does look pretty good. So I'm not noticing any huge issues around this wall as far as insulation goes. The main issue definitely appears to be along that little strip. So I've talked to Peter about how we can fix that, because it is something you can do yourselves. But that little cavity that's running there behind the framing, that is definitely causing some of that cold air to rise up. And we can see when we look down at the basement floor as well, all those dark blues there. That's just the concrete down at the bottom, probably a little bit to do with the exterior wall and that little gap that we have just behind that chest. But all those areas are definitely creating cold. So there and here would be the problems. Not so concerned about the wall. And then when we go out front here, so yes, this area here again is a major problem as far as cool goes. So you can see, especially down at the bottom there's that dark blue, and that blue continues to run up this entire strip. So this corner here in particular does look like it's causing a few of those problems, especially down here behind the baseboard. When we look at this wall here, we don't really seem to be having too many issues that I can see. Like, that's all a pretty nice orange consistency. When we go down here, we can see that just like flush with the top of this window, what we can see there is there are some darker blues in there. And it could just be something that when the original builders were insulating the part of the wall, maybe this part wasn't quite insulated properly, and that may be why we're having problems here in specific. But overall, I'm not overly disappointed with what I can see with this wall. Now, coming upstairs here, the main issues I'm finding are to do with the cathedral. So when we look at the cathedral there, we can just see that it's really, really inconsistent, right? So we have some areas that are nice and orange. We can see those are looking really nice. So those are obviously well insulated. But when we look down here, there's a bunch of gaps. And what's likely happened here is over time, the bats have either condensed or they weren't installed properly initially. Like back when this home was built, they didn't really understand the mechanics of how to install insulation because it was a very new product. So it could be that they just tried to shove it down from up top there, which can lead definitely to some issues here where that cold temperature is pushing through, especially along that bottom strip. Now we look at the exterior wall, so we can see that there actually is quite a bit of heat in that corner, but there is a few, darker, like more blue, more purple areas as we're running across here. It is better in the exterior wall than it is in the cathedral part of the ceiling. However, again, I think that's just a symptom of the fact that insulation was very new back then. They didn't really know how to properly fill the cavities. That's probably why we're seeing a little bit darker in there. And again, when we go to this side, we're seeing same issues kind of happening here. So to varying degrees, there does seem to be a few shades of blue, a few shades of purple. We can see that here in behind the clothes as well. So the cathedral ceiling is definitely part of that issue. When we go in here, because we have a dormer coming up here and we insulated this quite well, so you can see that we're getting a lot of oranges, a lot of reds, and that is all a very, very good sign telling us that we're well insulated up here. The only issue we're having down here is just at the edge, and the only reason for that is because the wall does thin out quite a bit up there and we weren't able to quite get it up to code in that specific section, but it does still look quite nice to me as far as the thermal efficiency goes. Now when I go into here, this is the last room that I'm going to be inspecting. Again, it's more of the same, so we can see that in the walls here, like it is a bit of a darker shade, which tells me that, it's not perfectly insulated. And then when we look at the cathedral ceiling again, we do have a few blotches all throughout here, and we can see especially down at the edges there, that's where we're seeing a lot of those colder temperatures concentrated. So same thing up here. So basically when we're looking at, the thermal efficiencies throughout the home, there are a couple of quirky things that have to do with just being an older home. Some of it does have to do just with the fact that, when they installed the insulation initially, it was a very new product on the market, and they did the best they could, which would have been a very good standard at the time. However, nowadays we understand that, using a couple inches of bats, it doesn't do anything for air sealing. It has a relatively low R value, and because we don't have the space in there, there's not a whole lot that we can do outside of, something like, removing the ceilings and starting to really properly insulate that way. So I'm going to do some homework into this for you guys, and we'll see if I can come up with some solutions for you in another way. But yeah, I just wanted to show you with the thermal imaging camera that yes, you're right, there are a few cold spots in the home, and I will do my best to try to help you solve those. Thank you.